Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am so glad you're here because today we're looking at one of the most fascinating chain reactions in history. You know how falling dominoes work, right? You knock one over and it triggers another and another until the whole setup looks completely different. Well, today we're going to see how a few brilliant yet kind of simple inventions set off a massive historical chain reaction that actually built a bustling modern city. Okay, let's just dive right in. Imagine, right here in our classroom, that you were put in charge of creating a brand new city totally from scratch. What does it actually take? I mean, is it really just grabbing a blank map, drawing some lines for streets and saying, put a building here and maybe a park over there? Or are there bigger, invisible forces at play that truly shape a city's destiny? Keep that question right in the back of your mind as we check out a real-life example together. Section 1. Designing a capital city. Let's travel way back in time to 1792 to see exactly how this specific city began. Our story starts in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, Raleigh was plopped right in the middle of the state on purpose, mostly to keep the government safe from attacks over on the coast. And because it was built just for government business, it was tiny. By the year 1800, Raleigh had just under 700 people living there. To put that into perspective, that's probably smaller than your entire elementary school. But while this sleepy little town was super quiet, the world outside its borders was gearing up for a massive transformation. Section 2. The textile invention dominoes. The whole world was about to change drastically. And believe it or not, it all started with the clothes we're wearing right now. You see, before big factories existed, making just a simple shirt was a painfully slow process. It was like a giant three-step puzzle. First, someone had to pick these sticky little seeds out of puffy cotton fibers entirely by hand. Second, that cleaned cotton had to be carefully spun and stretched out into thread. And third, you had to weave that thread into cloth on a loom. It was a huge holdup. People could only make cloth as fast as human hands could possibly move, usually just sitting right inside their own homes. But then, the dominoes started falling. In this amazing rush of brilliance, inventors created some truly wild new machines. In 1764, James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny. Pretty soon after, Sir Richard Arkwright created the water frame, which actually moved this work out of people's living rooms and into the very first big factories. Then came Samuel Crompton's spinning mule, and Edmund Cartwright's power loom in 1785. Suddenly, machines were doing the work of dozens of people. It was a real game changer. But hang on, there was still one major problem. These fast, loud, new factory machines needed a ton of raw cotton. And picking those sticky seeds out by hand, yeah, that was still way too slow. Enter Eli Whitney's cotton gin in 1793. This simple little machine quickly brushed those annoying seeds right out of the cotton fibers. That impossible holdup we talked about? Gone, practically overnight. Processing cotton was suddenly fast, super easy, and incredibly profitable. Section 3. Cotton's boom and heavy cost. This one little machine completely changed the landscape of the American South. Now, we absolutely must also understand the sad and heavy cost of this huge boom. Because these factories wanted so much cotton, farm owners needed a massive number of workers for their expanding fields. Tragically, the sudden new wealth was built directly using the cruel system of slavery. Enslaved people were forced to do the grueling, hard labor in the fields just to keep up with those fast new textile mills up north. And this reality created deep, tearing tensions across the entire country. Section 4. Rebuilding and powering up. Those rising tensions eventually boiled over into the devastating American Civil War. And out of the ashes of that conflict, Raleigh's story changed forever. Raleigh went from being this quiet, predictable little government town of just a few hundred people to a totally new, bustling center of business. Factories and warehouses started popping up everywhere, and they were all linked together by loud, powerful railroad trains. The city was basically transforming from just a political meeting spot into a serious economic powerhouse. And technology supercharged this growth fast. In just over 2 decades, the city's infrastructure, the basic systems that keep a city running, was completely remade. They got a brand new clean water system in 1887. Then, the absolutely amazing electric streetcar arrived in 1891, which put Raleigh on the absolute cutting edge. Actually, it was so popular they had to build a massive new powerhouse by 1910 just to keep all that electricity flowing. So why did a streetcar matter so much? Because it was 4 times faster than the old horse-drawn carts it replaced. I mean, imagine your parents driving 4 times faster around your town. No way, right? But suddenly, people could commute quickly, supplies could zip around town, and the whole heartbeat of the city literally sped up to match the power of electricity. Section 5. Schools and New Communities. But hey, factories and electricity weren't the only forces building this new city. Raleigh was also becoming a major hub for learning. It already had the state's oldest school for girls, but after the Civil War, amazing new universities like Shaw and St. Augustine's were founded. These schools were absolutely crucial because they offered higher education to Black students who had been unfairly shut out of other places. And guess what? This brought brilliant new students, dedicated teachers, and their families to Raleigh, making the entire community so much stronger and more vibrant. Section 6. The Great City Boom. So, we've got the factories, the electricity, the railroads, and the new schools all mixing together at exactly the same time. What do you think happens next? You get a massive population explosion from 1900 to 1920. In just 20 short years, the number of people living in Raleigh almost doubled. The city wasn't just growing, it was absolutely booming. All that new infrastructure, the water, the electricity, the streetcars, it all acted like fuel. Furniture factories, tobacco production, and those super-fast textile mills were running on full power, drawing thousands of eager workers right into the heart of the city. And you could see this change with your very own eyes. By 1903, the entire city looked like a giant construction site. Those quiet little two-story shops from the past, they were suddenly dwarfed by giant 10-story office buildings shooting up into the sky. It was the physical proof, right there in brick and steel, that Raleigh had officially completed its journey from a sleepy little capital into a bustling modern American city. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want you to think about Raleigh's invisible dominoes: the cotton gin, the railroads, and the electricity. Now, what invisible forces are shaping our cities right now? Are they computers and algorithms, global supply chains, exciting new green energy like wind and solar? Take a look around your own town today and ask yourself, what dominoes are falling right now, and what kind of city will they build for your future? Thanks so much for exploring with me today, and keep asking great questions.